Alright, we're gonna go ahead and get started because it's almost 7:15. Thank you all for being on time and ready to begin. Just a heads up, I'm super jet lagged and tired, but I will do my best to be coherent for all of you. So let's get started with the roll call. AC Welch, here. President Becker, here. V. Bob Murphy, here. VPSA Tombu, Treasurer Ercolani, A.T. Weber. Okay, cool. Services Coordinator Tibutamwa. Joshua. Here. Congressman Christensen. Here. DOC Gumijala. Senator Stallings. Here. Senator Christian. Here. Senator Dodimid. Here. Senator De Vega. Is there a substitute? Senator Nelson. Is there a sub? Senator Kangikyo. Senator Jones. Here. Senator Mendel. Here. Senator Zerning. Here. Senator Nieto. Here. Senator Goldhammer. Is there a substitute? Senator McDowell. Here. Senator Tassar. Here. Senator Pietrasanta. Here. Senator Collinger. Here. Senator Aveling. Hi. Senator Adhikari. Here. Senator Goswami. Yep. Reform Committee Chair Monteforte. Here. T.A. Gould. Here. ACES Co-Director Coleman. ACES Co-Director DeRoche. ACES Outreach Coordinator Preston. Green Fund Co-Chair Snodgrass. ISO Delegate No. QPOC Delegate Blackstone. SHIC Delegate Cheslak. Okie dokie, thank you all. We will now move on to a vote for the approval of the minutes. This is to approve, This is to approve the minutes of the last Student Senate meeting. So the polls are open. A is in favor, B is opposed, and C is abstaining. What's the number? Okie dokie. So, with all those in favor, that passes. Cool. We will now move on to the public comments, announcements, and additional events. So if anyone has any of those, please speak now. Senator Collinger.
Hi, so I just wanted to give a little update, kind of like concerns about what's been happening at the dining hall, like committee meetings. So something that we talked about before was the possible end of the meal to go program, simply because a lot of students are using it as just kind of not the intended purpose, which is to get it for a certain meal. People are taking out like a bunch of, like a whole cup of honey, and that is actually often more hurtful for the dining hall. And so they wanted to, kind of express their concerns because they want this program to continue to happen, but it's just the way that students are using it currently is making it very difficult for them to maintain it. So just please keep that in mind. Please tell your constituents, because that's really important, because if you're taking out an entire thing of honey, like, that is tough. If you have any concerns about that or comments, please feel free to talk to me. I just want to get that out in the open because I feel like a lot of us do use, like take a bin of salad or something like that, but just got to be a little conscious about it. So, thank you.
Thank you. VPSA-elect Sakatan.
Yeah, something else Elizabeth actually asked me to mention, but I guess it's not really time yet, but I still wanted to bring it up as a heads up for everyone, is that the other thing that we discussed at dining committee was I guess an initiative from dining services to start a form or a link to a form that allows students to submit recipes that they will consider for D-Hall. Obviously, there's a lot of other considerations that are part of that, and so it doesn't mean that every recipe that gets submitted gets made, but it is a step forward, and so look, keep your eyes open. That's going to be there soon. There were a couple of edits that need to be made to the form, and so should hopefully happen in the next week or two. Did you want to add something?
Make sure to tell your constituents so they have that, keep it in mind, because then it does kind of take a process of like recipes and stuff like that. So yeah, thank you.
And then something else that I wanted to announce was, been working on this since last semester, now with Ashton and Tess and Sriyash. And we've sort of been able to get Bob's open for study hours and open for reservations. And so the study hours in Bob's are Mondays and Tuesdays from 6 to 10 p.m. And usually if the doors open past 10 and you leave it open, like you could stay even later. And then on Sundays from 1 to 10 p.m. This is really important. I think it's a great space for students to use just because in the past it hasn't been used. We're facing a little difficulty in student attendance, but please tell people to use this space. It's a really good space for community, and then also there's posters and other information up that Dylan has sent out for reservations. And so that's on Wednesdays and Thursdays, pretty much after 4 or 5 o'clock. If you want to host an event there, you just have to send Nancy Guinan an email. Yeah.
Can we get a mic?
I asked what Monday, Tuesday hours were.
There's 6 to 10 p.m.
Okay, thank you. AC Welch?
Hey team, we're going to go back to something more like the table layout we had before for our next meeting here. I think that probably works better so we can see each other, Lana can see us, so yeah.
Joshua, Services Coordinator, Tibetan.
Hey guys, I've been bringing this up for a couple of weeks, but it's finally happening. Civic Engagement Committee, I'm trying to have it be down on the 11th, and just a little recap of what it is. We've noticed a lot of separate efforts by different politically affiliated organizations to sort of mobilize students and get them engaged. Not just like teaching people how to vote, but also like questions like when you bring a candidate onto campus, what can you do, what can you not do? I've talked to Barb Trish, and she's actually thinking of rewriting the whole campus-wide policy for candidates visiting campus. Stuff like, for example, right now, no matter who the political candidate is, if a class is going on, they can't step on campus. And that means we've lost like a lot of big candidates actually coming and visiting us. So this committee will be sort of a place where we can discuss not just like, as a campus, what do we want the policy to be for small stuff like when candidates come onto campus, but also like, how do we have like bipartisan education and what it means to be civically engaged. It's a lot, but so I'm trying to shoot for the 11th. I'll send out more info, but it's open not just to senators. It's open to anybody involved, so tell your constituents, please come if you think it's interesting. Elections are coming up, so this might be a good time.
Thank you. DOC Gumijala?
Focus groups and survey is going out next week to get feedback on SGA. The first focus groups will be this week, but I'm hoping to get the survey out next week. So please boost that to all your constituents and your friends. Thank you.
Tucker?
I don't know if I should be asking this just to an individual person, but roll call there was a delegate for QPOC, but not for any of the other queer groups, and also I co-run QPOC and don't know how Arrow was selected for the delegate position. Can that be explained to me, because I don't have any email about that.
AC Welch?
Tucker and I can talk about it.
All right. Are there any further public comments, announcements, or additional events? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which are the ACE budgets, which will be presented by A.T. Weber.
Hi. So I had the great pleasure of leading ACE today. We had some really good budgets. It was a lot of fun. So drag show, we funded $525 instead of the requested $600 because it was brought to our attention that there were personal items in the budget which we do not fund. So we subtracted that $75, which is how we ended up with $525. Contra Dance brought a revised budget from last session. It was greatly reduced to $520, which we were pleased to see, with a lot of outside contribution, which is always good. Thank you all for your outside contribution. Treasure Trade requested $70 for snacks for that event. We funded it. Euro Club Gardner, that was just a rough one because there was like just a lot of confusion with the budget, but we just like rearranged it a good deal and ended at $195, and yeah, we're paying for pizza and assorted decorations, which is how we got that number. And then Carnival Harris, we added $100 because they found decorations at Walmart kind of last minute, which was really exciting. So that's how we ended with that number. Does anyone have questions?
Any questions for the ACE budgets? A.T. Weber, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it.
Alrighty. Seeing that there are no questions, we can now move on to, and nothing's over 1,000, we can now move on to the SPC and services budget. So services share to Otomo?
So we had no services budget this week. We had a couple of people send in late submissions. There's one on there, but we still reviewed it. So just making it clear, budgets have to be in by Friday midnight or we will not look at them. Even if we do review them, we will not fund you till the next week. We're just trying to make this like a standard policy across all committees. So yeah, we had the Grinnell intersectional vegans, which was cool. They have 3 more meals that they're gonna do. They're gonna send out an email when exactly those meals are. But you should contact them at GID, at Grinnell.edu, if you want to know information. Free college for all, they're asking for plane tickets. They asked for 980. We pushed it up to 1,000 because well, it's pretty close to the limit. But also, we think it's reasonable for the plane ticket prices to go up to 1,000 by the time they get their funding. So they're here for that. Any other questions? We're also spending quite well. I know it looks weird because, so the blue line is what we have allocated and the orange one is like if we were to equally pre-allocate everything. There's that slump because again, we had 2 weeks without committee. So the angle changes a little bit, but I think we're still doing pretty well.
All right, any questions or comments? Seeing none, oh, Senator Jones.
Just as a general question, does this mean that we're on track for spending all the money we've allocated, or are we perhaps going to end up with like another $90,000 surplus as a whole? Maybe that's a better question for the Treasury. I know it's just a general question.
Treasurer Raglani?
Yeah, so as far as I'm aware, based on our the last review that I did of our budget, we are on track to spend at a similar rate to what we did last semester, so almost on budget with a slight surplus. as far as any committee specifics, I haven't really reviewed the individual committees themselves, rather our spending as a whole. But Amanda might be able to answer that question.
P.T. Weber?
I wouldn't say that I'm more qualified to answer that question. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry about not having the ACE projection chart. I'm not really sure how it works. I wish I could have had it for you guys, but I'll work on that next time.
The last point is with the new funding policies, another reason why I think we're still sort of under is because people submit a lot of late budgets. Like I get like 5 budgets 3 minutes from committee. And so one of the things I'm starting to notice is we're underspending because I keep telling people to come back next week when you've actually submitted the budget on time. So for the last couple, like 4 weeks, that's been a big thing. There are like 6 people who have been like, come back next week.
Thank you. Do we have someone here to present the Free College for All budget? Okay. Can we get a mic to the back? Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Naomi. I use she, her, and I'm here with Free College for All. We're requesting this budget for a national convention from the broader organization that we're under, People's Action. They're hosting a convention in DC, April 28th through 30th, and it'll be a national convening of affiliates from all around the country. And we're trying to send 4 members of our local organization there so they can bring back both the campaign information, Free College for All being one of People's Action's priority campaigns, and build new relationships with national organizers that we can start to use to connect to our local work. We have outside money that we're bringing in from subsidies from People's Action themselves, and as well as member fundraising, and then we're requesting money for the remaining flight costs.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions on this budget? We can give it a few. Senator Abilene?
How did you select the people to go to DC?
Oh, do you mind using a mic? Thank you very much.
It's during a school week, so it's a Sunday through Tuesday, so we shared the information with our core members, and there are 4 people who are available to go during those school days.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions on this budget? Okay, now we do, Senator Zarnik.
I'm just curious about transportation to and from the airport and how you got this ticket price.
The ticket price, I looked on the flights, and I found a median cost of $345, and People's Action is subsidizing $100 off of each of our flights. And so while there are some that are lower than this and some that are higher than this right now, I just put it around there at the $245 mark. And then costs to the airport is coming out of personal costs or member fundraising right now.
Any further comments or questions? Naomi, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
That's it.
Okay, cool. So we will have to vote on this budget. Seeing that no one has anything left to add, we're just going to move on to the voting procedure. So polls are open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is to approve a budget of $1,000 that will be going to Free College for All. That was so quick. That was awesome. So with all those in favor, that budget passes. Congratulations. Thank you all very much. Joshua, do you have anything left to add to the SBC services? No? Okay. So we will now move on to the next agenda item, which is the confirmation of Amelia Zernig and Monica Tai as ACE coordinators for 2019-2020.
I'm gonna get a little switch out going. Before we get into this, I first just wanted to thank
all the senators that were involved in getting the referendum together, the reform chair, the AC, for getting this off the ground, because you guys just helped us, get to this point. And we really, really appreciate all the effort that you put in. So to start with the all campus events coordinators, we are nominating Amelia and Lana, who we are just super impressed with their commitment to SGA, to the school. Amelia, we think, has a really good understanding of the campus, or the Grinnell community, both on and off campus. And you guys have the written rationale we wrote for her, that time back, and there's not much more I'm gonna say from that. Lana is just a super hard worker. I've seen her in action. She is, if something has to be done tomorrow, it's done yesterday. And she had it done, on top of doing 3 other activities. Amelia and Lana both stood out to us because one of our priorities that we talked to, students about was making policies clearer and making funding more available to students who may not know how to access it. And during the interview process, both of them emphasized that as one of their goals, and that's one of the main focuses of their partnership next year. And I just think they're going to make wonderful all-campus events coordinators, and will put on amazing and consistent all-campus events next year.
All right, so we'll do 2 times per questions, one with the candidates in the room and then one with them having stepped out. So are there any questions now while the 2 candidates are here? Is that, no, okay. Any questions? All right, seeing none, you 2 can step out and we'll give another time for questions or comments. All right, are there any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, correct? Somebody say something if you have. All right, then we'll move on to voting. All right, the polls are now open. Please vote. A is in favor, B opposed, C abstaining. The confirmation of Amelia Zernig for the fall and Lana Katai for the spring as all campus events coordinators for 2019-2020 academic year. I think we're looking for 2 more votes, I believe. Oh, yeah, so 1 more vote. You could all just make sure, just try clicking 1 more time. All right, and it passes. Somebody can invite them back in, and Lana will come back and resume the position of president of the Senate.
Sakatana is going to take concerts. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Is on? Wasn't he just? Didn't he? Sakatana go to get you?
Yes, he's here.
Where is he? Sakatana.
The
door's locked. No, it's open. Your expertise is best for concerts, so I'm gonna let you take it.
Okay, so we're getting into the confirmation of Finn and Victoria. I'm very excited as our concert chairs for the next academic year. Really amazing individuals, very qualified, very passionate about concerts. Both of them are second years. They've been working for concerts since their first year. Very involved in the student music community. I've worked with Victoria as part of Free Sound. I've seen her do as a member of her band, as a member of multiple bands. Somebody who teaches music, somebody who sort of loves music outside of all of the things that she does. She has this commitment to making sure work is done in an orderly fashion, making sure people are accountable, and organizing people even when she has to go out of her way to do it. And so I'm very excited that she will be one of our concert chairs for next year. Finn also has amazing experience. He's outspoken with his preferences, and he has this commitment to sort of shaping student music interests on campus. That's something that I really look forward to. I'm very excited about. I also want to say that I'm really excited about the fact that they bring two very unique perspectives, and that's a very exciting thing for what concerts are going to look like next year on campus. And so, yeah, here's hoping.
All right, same thing as last time. We're going to have Q&A with candidates present and then Q&A with candidates outside the room. So does anyone have any questions regarding this confirmation? Seeing none, do you guys mind stepping out of the room? Thank you. Okay, does anyone have any questions or concerns regarding this confirmation? Seeing none, we can move into the voting procedure directly. Excuse me. Polls are open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. This is for the confirmation of Finn and Victoria as the concert chair for next year. We are looking for one more. All right. And with all in favor, that passes. Congratulations. Thank you all. Now we can move on to the next item, which is the confirmation of Tucker and Siamala as DOC for the next academic year. Can we get a mic to President-elect Logan?
So these are two people that I am very impressed with just as student leaders on this campus, who I have a lot of respect for and who I look to a lot in the way that they've done their work. Tucker has been a committed advocate for LGBTQ students on campus, helps put on events that are huge on campus that serve underrepresented students. Tucker also understands how to, finesse Grinnell's resources, work with administrators, work with funding, just in their capacity as a leader of the SRC. And I think that Tucker is going to bring a really valuable perspective to cabinet next year. Siamala I think, would make a great DOC. Personally, as I've worked with her in, the transition this semester, that's just made me even more confident that she's going to be able to pick it up with, a little bit more advance notice next year. She is so excited about getting students involved with SGA, and on outreach committee is always the first one to bring, energy and excitement, and has just picked up the projects and is running with them, and I know that her vision and experience is going to serve SGA and students great next year. And I think that them as partners, we are really excited because they bring really different backgrounds and perspectives, and I think that especially in the time that we will have as a whole cabinet, in the spring and during our different training periods, that's really going to shape us and our outlook for the better as we're serving students next year. And so I think that they are going to make a great team as the DOC, or the Diversity Outreach Coordinators next year.
Thank you. Do we have any comments or questions? Senator Stallings, can we get a mic to Senator Stallings, please?
Hi. So in the kind of constraints of this particular position as you address in your letter, have you talked to the admin that DOC would be working with and how they expect this to impact, if at all, the relationship that they will have with them next year?
Yeah, so I met with Mari before we left for break because I wanted to specifically touch base with her about that. She's been my main touch point when I was in the DOC role, and she pretty much didn't have much to say except for, we're gonna continue to provide, the same services and same partnership. I think that Mari is often overlooked for her commitment to, students and making sure they have a good experience here. And I think that if we were to have anyone working with any sense of challenges within SGA, she's the first one to text me and be like, Regina, how can I help? So I think that it's going to be good. But we're going to make sure to talk to those other people who I don't have, or the DOC doesn't have as much face time with, but still make sure we touch base with them this semester and start planning. So like Karen Edwards, Brenda, those other players in ICI.
VPSA Anand.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly add that I also coincidentally had a meeting with Mari, Brenda, and Connie the week before spring break. Very similar sort of pattern of conversation. We were talking about a wide area of things, not specifically that, but this did come up, and none of them really had any objection to it. But I specifically put forward the concern that students and senators have. And so they did address it, and they said that, they recognized it as a concern, and they also demonstrated a willingness to work around that and with that specifically. In addition, I spoke with Mari and Siama actually very recently about actually having cabinet members meet with them, and they were completely open to that over the next few weeks, just sort of scope out what ICA's goals are for the next academic year and how Cabinet can help them with that, and what Cabinet's goals are and how we can work together to make that happen. So.
Thank you. DOC Gumajala, I'm sorry.
I also want to reiterate that I'm meeting with these administrators right now, because I'm the DOC right now, so it should be no surprise when I come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further, Senator Eberling? Can we get a mic to Ashton, please? Thank you.
Hey, I was hoping that Tucker could talk a little bit further about plans to better use first-year council. I saw that there's a plan to coordinate with them on a get-to-meet SGA resource fair, but I was wondering if there are any further plans to integrate class of 2023 and get them exposed to SGA and the resources it can provide.
This was something I was super interested in based on my own personal experience of wanting to be involved in SJ, but not understanding how it worked at all. And I wanted to have much more explicit events worked into NSO in the weeks following that, get students to come into here, and we have a setup where it's an interpersonal resource fair where people can talk to members of cabinet and senators and people like that, and they can have a more in-depth, personalized understanding of what it means to be part of SGA. I also want to, I've already talked to, I think it was Brenda and one other person, and who's the current dean of students? I'm really sick right now, so I can't think. But I've talked with them about my interest in creating events on the NSO schedule itself that will help students understand the role that SGA can have on campus. And then with first year council, I was interested in having a meeting at the beginning of the spring semester so that everyone can be introduced to Siamala, and the people in the class of 2023 are meeting with her before the transition into having representatives with us.
Thank you. Are there any DOC Gumajala?
Also, regarding first year council, my program ends pretty early in December, so I was actually hoping to maybe make my way back to campus at the end of fall semester, so I can meet with first year council even before spring semester starts.
Are there any further comments or questions? All right, do you two mind stepping out for a minute so we can have the other Q&A period? Thank you. Okay, do we have any further comments or questions regarding these confirmations? Senator Stallings?
Just have one final comment, particularly with this position, which I think is devoted to the kind of precarious needs of our complex student body. And that is just to say that I think that you guys have found two people who are willing to work around some particularly difficult circumstances, not only in this own position and it being split, but across all of the split positions that are going to be in this cabinet. And I just hope that as I graduate, that I can urge any cabinet that would follow, and any SGA that would follow this one, to say that that may not always be the case, and that I really hope that this position can remain to be accessible to all students, those who can do this and those who can't, those who are willing to extend themselves to come back early or to put in more time, unpaid work, things like that, things that we've discussed over and over again, and those who aren't. And I hope that the position will remain accessible, and any position in SGA to all of those people. I do remain concerned about the precedents, but I also am a rational person and understand the context that we're in right now and what's going to happen and how I'm voting myself and by approving these positions. I just want to stress that and felt obligated to do so.
Thank you. President-elect Logan?
I think I hear you and completely agree with, everything that you're saying. The commitment, like, I honestly didn't know Siamala was thinking about, coming back in the fall, and that's a commitment that I would never say should be a requirement or a preference for a member of SGA, because I think that is unfair to expect out of people. But I just want to reassure you and everyone that one of our biggest priorities is making sure that students aren't, overextending themselves, aren't not getting paid for the work that they do. And so any extra effort that, our nominees want to put on, I just want you guys to have the confidence that us and Amanda will be, working to make sure that people are getting paid for their time. And if people are doing too much, I will be the first one to tell them, like, go home. This is the job, but you're also all these different things.
Thank you. Are there any further comments or questions? Seeing none. Is anyone at the door? Okay, but the candidates aren't coming back inside. Okay, cool. Seeing none, we're now going to move on to the voting procedure for this confirmation. So the polls are now open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining, and this is for the confirmation of Tucker and Siamala for DOC. Amelia stepped up, so. Okay, we're looking for 16. No, I know, but another person arrived, so we're still looking for 16. All right, with 15 in favor and 1 abstention, that confirmation passes. So could we please invite the candidates back into the room? Congratulations on the confirmations. So now we will be moving on to agenda item number 9, which is a vote on the resolution to limit the length of student senate meetings. So whoever is leading this, A.T. Weber, can we get a mic to Amanda? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This resolution is kind of like my baby. I hope you like it. So this is, I'm not gonna read through the whole thing because it's long. I hope you all read through it beforehand or taken the time to read it now. But essentially, I just I'm all for promoting more like healthy practices through like our institutional documents, and I think that like Student Senate has been going long recently, which is not necessarily good for people as students who need sleep and time to do work. And so basically this resolution is just an attempt to limit Student Senate to 2 hours with the potential for half-hour increments to be added by vote. But really, like, I just want to be like looking out for everyone, like their wellness, their mental health. I think it's important. If you have questions about like my thought process behind this or anything, like I'm happy to answer them. A lot of you were at Reform, so we've talked through this a little bit already, but yeah.
All right, the discussion is now open. Senator Collinger.
Sorry, I just have a clarifying question. So we're discussing it, but then also, are we gonna vote on this specifically for tonight?
So on the agenda, it says a vote.
So.
On this resolution, so yes, we'll be voting.
Okay.
Senator Eberly?
So, to make changes to the Constitution, we still have to send this out to the student body. Are we going to do this after this?
Right, VP AA Murphy.
That's for the Constitution. This is a bylaw change, which is done just by senators, right? Is it not? Is it constitutional change?
It's constitutional change.
I'm wrong.
Do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, so I'm of the opinion that, again, like just about healthy practices, I think this is something that is like important to be put into the Constitution. Like I care about that a lot. And like generally I like to think that it's something that people would support and want in the Constitution itself. But just like, I don't know, for institutionalizing purposes, I don't know. Like, so you're right, this would be a bigger process, but that's kind of why I want to start it now.
Thank you. Senator Stallings?
So I expressed this in Reform. And just wanted to express it here so that it's known that I really do support this. I think this is a great idea. And I think having this kind of addition that we can assess time by adding 30 minutes or not by vote is good. I just think that it acknowledges that, one, we are students before anything, that's why we're here. And also that I think it also acknowledges that time is, it's a commodity that is valued differently by people, and that we need to acknowledge that people who have less time typically are people of marginalized identities, and I really do think that this does work to make this more accessible. So thanks for that.
President-elect Logan?
I want to be clear that I also really support this amendment. One of the things we did discuss in Reform, Senator Stallings actually brought this up, is that the motion, sessions of Senate, a motion to vote prior to adjournment with 2/3 vote in favor at a time will be required. That the added time thing, because it may be a few students who don't have that extra time to put in, but if everybody else is like, let's just keep going, then that might be unfair to students who really do need to go, and then they would be penalized. And one of the things I brought up was that I think that this is a good step in the right direction, and once we see kind of how the 2 hours feels, if we need to adjust the 2/3 vote, then we could. And so the only consideration I wanted to bring up is that if we do feel like we need a little bit of leeway to see how this plays out, then if we wanted to somehow amend this to make it better fit to like just what it ends up being, that would be another constitutional change. So like I'm not opposed to it being another constitutional change, I'm just bringing that up so that's consideration.
Senator Stallings?
Sorry, I'm kind of spaced out and realized that we haven't even discussed this in this room yet. And so I wanted to reiterate what Regina was talking about, particularly that I do feel if we kind of have this caveat that 2/3 of Senate can vote in favor and then time will be added, if we acknowledge that students that comprise SGA are actually less likely to be in low-income identities and working class, then if we think about who gets to vote yes and why they get to vote yes and who's privileged to vote yes and who therefore is kind of not allowed to, like who isn't allowed to like kind of express the time that they need in this capacity. Yeah, I'm a bit concerned about that, but also given that this is unprecedented, I'm not sure how it would work out. I think the only kind of way to deal with that would be to make 2/3 less, like a smaller fraction or something like that, but I'm not really sure. I thought about it a bit and I really don't have any solutions to that. But yeah, I think that leaving it up to 2/3 to decide whether we should continue a long Senate or not could be a bit problematic.
Senator Eberly?
I agree with the fact that this is sensitive and needs to be tweaked and considered and thought about very carefully, and that this is also a health and wellness thing that should be done. And with that said, I really strongly feel you should consider making this into a bylaw change so we have the ability to change it easily and in an inflexible way to address our needs.
Treasurer Ercolani?
A question for either the presiding officer or the former presiding officer, or sorry, the president of the Senate or the former presiding officer. Would it be possible, in the vein of some of the comments that have been made, to not make this a constitutional change, but rather just to simply adopt this as a standing rule of the Senate, and that way we have greater flexibility of change while it's being evaluated? And I understand the importance of cementing it in our governing documents, but maybe bringing that topic up at a later date when we have had some time to evaluate, as an alternative.
Vipa Murphy?
The only thing is that vote for the 2/3 of like adding a 30-minute increment, like that you can't do through Robert's rules, but everything else, yeah, we could just put in a motion to adjourn at like 9:10 p.m. instead of just a motion to adjourn here, and then someone would have to make a motion to adjourn if we were trying to adjourn before 9:10 p.m. Not impossible, but also this is like both institutional and also has more possibilities.
Also, just as like the current PO, I'm in favor of not institutionalizing this in a sense, just so that people can have the flexibility in governing this space in the ways that they see best fit. But then also like I'm very aware of the fact that like my time is coming to an end soon, and like maybe the next person is not going to be similar in style and as like laid back as I am when it comes to Robert's rules and stuff like that. Because we do have to abide by that, so there is a lot of value in institutionalizing this in some way, just so that it can like be mandated and, you know. But then again, as Riley said, like people can motion to end Senate at certain times and whatnot. I saw some hands. A.T. Weber.
So, yeah, I recognize the concerns about putting it straight into the Constitution, because that makes it more, you know, cemented. On the one hand, like I understand that. On the other hand, like I think that could potentially be a good thing, just because like I think SGA is a really great space, but one that doesn't always prioritize like the health of its participants. And I personally really feel like that's a move that we should be making in a big way. However, if that is just a deal breaker on this resolution, putting it in the Constitution, I would absolutely be happy to change it to a bylaw, just so that we could at least try to implement it in some respect, see how it goes, do some tweaking if we need to. I just do think it's really important that this goes somewhere where it's more of an like important precedent, you know, that one that people feel a need to like recognize.
Thank you. AC Welch.
I agree with everyone who's talked about the importance of like institutionalizing like healthy behavior, and also like I think that if we're effective at doing our jobs, then we shouldn't be here for more than 2 hours, except for in irregular circumstances. And voting to extend Senate is like, it's sort of like making that the status quo is an acknowledgement that that would be an irregular circumstance. So I'm a big fan of that. I'm just gonna throw out a couple like things we could do with this resolution, just to give you all options. We could do this amendment thing, and we could also just like hang on to the amendment, like not send it to the student body for a vote until the end of the semester, or like later in the semester, because we're expecting more reforms to come, and we can just like make it the practice, because as Quinn mentioned, like I could just put on the agenda an adjourning motion at 9:10 p.m. every night, and like that could just be a thing we have. Or it could be a bylaw change too, under the Article 6 of the bylaws. We could make like a new Section 5 or something like that and have it in there.
Treasurer Ercolani.
Yeah, I would also say that it might be suitable under Article 8 of the bylaws, if anyone wants options. Article 6 is Senator's responsibilities. Article 8 is points of order, and it details some of the rules that we use here. So just alternatives.
Senator Stallings.
I am hearing the concerns about whether this should directly go into the Constitution, given that we don't know what it's going to be like, and also could agree that maybe it's necessary to instead try it out, basically. But could that be done on good faith, that we can address the value that this document could have in the Constitution later in the semester? Because I really do think that something of this form should be in the Constitution, because the points that we're bringing up about why this is important, I think are really valuable.
Senator Zernig.
So I have two questions. The first is for A.T. Weber on the final paragraph, the 30-minute increments. I'm just curious why you chose 30 minutes. And then also I'm curious about under section 2, under point A as well, number 6 is that Student Senate must approve any change in the time, place, or day of the week of the Student Senate by a 2/3 majority. And so I'm curious because it doesn't specify start time or end time, it just says change in the time. If that could be another route that we could do this, set this into precedent before adding it to the Constitution. And since there is the Constitution project going on in terms of extensive reform, I think in terms of submitting things to the student body, we're probably going to get one good look at something. Seems more likely than if we give them a lot of changes in different emails.
Yeah, so, okay, in regard to your first question about the 30-minute increments, I just kind of thought that 30 minutes was, I don't know, it was kind of arbitrary, but I talked to some people about it. 30 minutes was kind of a number that seemed good to people because it's, not too long, not too short, it's a good amount of time to I think bring up a couple new points for discussion, really be able to delve into those without getting too caught in the weeds, I guess. So that was how I decided on 30 minutes. As for what you were saying about the wide-scale constitutional reform that's going on, I think that's actually a really good idea. If we were to wait, I really have no qualms about testing this out before we put it in the Constitution. I just I've said this several times now, I'm sorry if I'm just sounding like a broken record, but I would really like to reiterate that I think it's important that we have something like this in the Constitution at some point. So I'd be happy to try it out, see how we feel on good faith, that this would be going into the Constitution in some form by the end of the year. Thank you. Can I I'm so sorry, I know nothing about Robert's rules. What is a good way to gauge the room here?
So some things I'm thinking is we could vote to, not vote, sorry, we could just change, like, this as being a vote, because that would, no? All right, I'm gonna just say what I'm thinking first, and then we can open up the room again, but, we could change this from being a vote on a resolution, like, in the Constitution, thus making it, like, somewhat permanent and, like, starting the process right now. You could table it, you could do whatever you want with it, because I'm getting the sense that this doesn't need to be voted on immediately, and I'm hearing you say that you're comfortable with not pushing this back, but addressing this at a later date, knowing that it's going to be something that we'll like somewhat prioritize. So it's really what you want to make of it as someone that's presenting this.
Could we take a vote on implementing this in like a non institutional official way, you know, just like doing this as a practice and seeing how we feel and then coming back to it later? Is that something? I don't know.
Senator Zernig?
Yeah, so under item 6 of that point A of section 2, I think since it just says time, I think it's appropriate for me to make a motion to change the ending time of Student Senate to specify 9:10 p.m. So I would like to make that motion right now.
So you're making a motion
to change the time of Student Senate, which under section 2 would require a 2/3 vote, and then.
Wait, so are you motioning to end tonight's Student Senate at 9:10, or are you motioning to change
change the time of Student Senate to end at 9:10?
Tonight?
In general.
In general?
Yeah.
All? I see questions, or are those seconds? I see a seconded. Okay, we can address that. Okay, this has been seconded, so we have to vote on it, and then we can address questions afterwards. So this is a vote to end Student Senate at 9:10 p.m., did you say? Yes.
This semester or tonight?
See, that's what I'm confused about. Is this for tonight or is this forever, like this semester?
This is a motion for the semester, and it's not a motion on this, it's not a vote on this resolution. This resolution could be talked about or tabled or pushed to a different capacity. I'm just making a motion to change the time of Student Senate as we would change the starting time to change the ending time.
Yes. Wait, can we get a mic, please? Thank you.
Is your intent in making this change to allow us to see what a 2-hour limit does, such that we can more educatedly vote on this amendment at a later date?
Yes, absolutely. And also to support healthy practices and to try this in like a less structured, like an unchangeable way. Like it would be easy to change this if it doesn't work, but to try it and see how it feels.
Cool, thank you. Clarification, super important. Senator Dodimy, do you have a question? Can we get a mic then? Also, just heads up, for the sake of good old Robert's rules, just please direct your questions as points of information so that I can be abiding by my good old homeboy Robert.
Are you trying? My question was, well, my point of information was, are you putting this into the
Constitution?
Yeah, no. Are you trying to put that into the Constitution that we end at 9:10?
No. So in the Constitution, under this same Article 3, Section 2, subsection A, point 6 mentions that Student Senate can change the time, place, or day of the week, and we've done that before. We've changed the starting time, we've changed the day of the week. So I'm just making a motion to change the time, specifically the ending time, to 9:10 for the semester. So that's it's not a constitutional change. It's just a use of that rule.
Okay.
All right, seeing that there are no further points of, yes.
So I'm just wondering also, so we want to extend it, we want to have a limit to 9:10, but
part of this resolution was that the 2/3 vote of Senate to add the extra time.
So this is completely removed from what's on the screen. It
Yeah.
doesn't- Yeah.
I'm aware of this. So if we have that, if we add this, we change it to like having it ending at 9:10, will we still be able to add extra time like with a 2/3 majority vote, like in in a 30-minute increment or whatever? That's what I'm wondering.
Yes, Senator Zerny.
Again, under Article 3, Section 2, subsection A, that same point 6 that I'm using now would require a 2/3 vote to change the time. So it would be the same. It would be a 2/3 vote to change the time, and any senator could propose that any night of the week, any student senate.
Cool. So since that has been seconded, all those in favor of moving to the voting procedure? No, just raise your hands. All those opposed? All those opposed? All those abstaining? Just a reminder, if you weren't in favor or opposed, you have to be abstaining, so please raise your hands. All right, well, we had enough in favor, so we're gonna open up the polls, and this is a vote to end Student Senate at 9:10 p.m. for the rest of the semester. So A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. For this vote, we are looking for 17, sorry. Right, and with 15 in favor, 1 opposed, what? What is the purple? All right, so with 15 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention, that passes. Which means that Student Senate will adjourn at 9:10 p.m. for the remainder of the semester. We will now return back to this vote discussion topic led by A.T. Weber.
Okay, first off, I'd just like to say that's exciting. Yay. Also, yeah, I'm gonna motion to postpone this discussion topic until a later date. We're just gonna table it.
All right, we have a motion to table, which is seconded by Senator Stallings. All those in favor, please raise your hands. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Guys, you have to pay attention when it's time to vote, all right? Please don't be on your computers because it's important. Thank you. I'm trying to be nice about it, but we need to raise our hands. All right, we're gonna vote now. This is a motion to table. Polls are open. A is in favor, B is opposed, C is abstaining. All right, cool, that passes. This has been tabled for a later date. Thank you, A.T. Weber. Thank you, everyone, for your flexibility. We will now be moving on to the cabinet reports. So, A.C. Welch.
I have nothing to add.
All right, Senator Collinger.
Can you talk about your meeting with Angela and Ray K?
Yes, definitely. So please, rest of cabinet, chime in with anything you want to say about this, and if I get anything wrong or anything like that. We thought we were going to talk about this sort of restorative justice request for a while, but that's, it's like, I don't know if we ever explained this, but it's sort of this we're going to have a lot of conversations about unifying campus and having respectful discourse with each other. We expressed some concern about Reynard being the person who is the leader of this in the past. So Chinyeri, the ombudsperson, is going to take the lead on making this thing happen. It's sort of like an outside workshop that can come here. And I think we were generally happy about that. I was happy about that. Yeah, and then we also talked about the concerts green room, which is in Cassie's report, but they updated Angela about the The mold situation seems to be a lot like more cleared up now, but they can talk about that. We also talked about the Iowa prison industries stuff. Raynard gave us a lot of stats about how it reduces recidivism, and there's like an S&B article about it, and they're gonna start like putting more information about it on the Grinnell website, so that like if there's, I don't know, we don't have to like dig for information about this every time it comes up. I don't know, if anyone else from cabinet wants to add more about that, you can, but I don't know, I can show you some of the stuff he talked about if you'd like, or you can also go to their website. And I think that was the bulk of it. Riley wanted to put the Peace Rock in the husk, and I kind of think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Senator Eberly?
Hi, I'm not sure if you're the right person to ask about this, AC Welch, but I see that ACE Chair at Mystic is listed as not being on the agenda. ACE Chair is vacant, and she wasn't at the ACE meeting today. Is there anything happening there?
You want to take this one?
So me and the execs received a letter of resignation from Zayla on Friday. By constitutional requirements, we're supposed to have an appointment to fill the position by today. We were on break, so we figure we'll have it by next week. We will be conducting normal hiring processes akin to the vacancy that was in the DOC before break. There will be an application window. Again, we'll be doing it in the shortened time frame that we utilized for DOC last time, meaning that we will have an appointment ready by next Sunday. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to, I guess we can do this. We can do whatever. If you have any questions, let me know.
Question Chair Christensen?
Just also point of information, AT Weber and I are gonna be dealing with any concerns or like coordinated issues or processes this week for the ACE chair position.
Thank you. Senator Nieto?
Will you guys be sending out a copy of the resignation letter to the rest of the Senate?
President Becker?
I can reach out to Sayla for an official statement, and then get a letter out if we would like that. It was a rather informal statement, just an email highlighting the ways in which she was planning on leaving the position and preparing the next person to take it over. I can look it over and make sure that like it's a fine thing to publish. We could do that. I could also ask for like a formal one.
Thank you. Tucker? Or DOC elect? Tucker.
Sorry, just to clarify that last point by Conscience Chair Christensen, if like I need to reserve like airspace or whatever like that, I should be contacting you and AT Weber. Okay, thank you.
President Becker?
Upon reviewing the play, I'm not sure, I don't think we want to release it. I'm not sure that that's the best idea. I think it was like kind of an email to the executives. But yeah, I mean, basically it was like, I resign and like, here's how I'm going to vacate the position.
Senator Collinger?
So I know that a lot of the times the current chair will help out like mentoring like the next appointees. What is the process for how I guess the cabinet-elect will be kind of helping Lana and Amelia?
President or Conscience Christensen, then President Becker? Or anyone who wishes to speak?
I can't speak for incoming cabinet, but in our discussion before Student Senate today, all the members of cabinet who are present expressed like concern about this, and also the fact that we all want to help teach the incoming ACE coordinators and help out with the training for that process in any way possible. I think collectively between cabinet members, we have a pretty good understanding of the functions of the ACE chair.
VPSA Tumbu?
I've also had a couple of meetings with Michael Sims, and so he's given me quite a few tips that the ACE coordinator like next year should know, and I'll be passing on that information and really connecting you guys with Michael Sims because he's really willing to help and has a lot of good information for you guys in order to be successful for next year.
VPSA-elect Anand?
I also just wanted to point out that luckily Dylan is AC, but did serve as ACE chair, and so useful resource. So yeah.
Thank you. Senator Jones?
Can I ask if, so y'all not sending out Shayla's letter, but can there be some kind of recognition of like this happening to the student body? Because it was a big deal for a long time, this whole complaints about the ACE chair, and now kind of acknowledging what's happened with that and how we're planning to serve the student body moving forward. I think would be a great thing for a cabinet to do for this week. Please.
DOC Gumijala?
Oh. Wow. Yeah, I think that's something that I would be willing to take on as the outreach coordinator. I had a couple ideas about maybe like having formal discussions about conflict on campus and how students should go about making complaints about their student government in a constructive way, and how SGA can do better about fielding those complaints. Because this is kind of like a really difficult situation that we're now put in, and for everyone on CAB and the student body. So I totally agree that there should be some form of formal discussion around this, and I'm hoping to think more on that and talk more about that in outreach committee, hopefully. So, thanks.
President-elect Regina?
As I'm hearing like the suggestion of formal conversations, I think the one thing I'd suggest being careful is not suggesting that anything that has happened was unconstructive, because as messy of a situation as we are in now, I mean, we're all kind of dancing around something that, we all know was going on. A petition went out that a lot of students signed about the ACE chair. And I just want to make sure that SGA does not frame that as something that we don't want happening, because students, voice their concern in the way that is constitutionally mandated. And I think that if we wish people had done something differently, the stuff that needed to happen differently was before over 200 students got to the point of signing, what they did. So I just want to be careful about that, because, anytime we talk about stuff, we have the potential of making SGA seem like something that people don't want to be a part of. And when we know there's this large group of students with frustration, we don't want to further say anything that's going to make more people think oh, SGA isn't serving us well.
VPSA Tumbu?
So Riley and I talked over break, and this is something that we discussed, and I think that we're really going to be looking into kind of trying to clean up the way, petitions/complaints are done in order to make it more concise way, and that's something that we're going to be working on the next following weeks.
Thank you. Contra Chair Christensen? Senator Dorimi?
Regarding walks, I said that I could help co-host spring walks, but now what's going to happen since we're not going to have a new ACE chair, and I was wondering, like, if it's going to be another week, will I still be working with them, or do I have to do anything in advance for that, or yeah, that was my general question, how that's going to work.
So a direct response from VPSA Tumblr?
I'm going to be meeting with Sayla and to talk about like future events slash things that she wants to wrap up, because she did tell me that during this next few weeks, like next week, that she wants to wrap up some projects and stuff, and so I'll be talking to her about that. I know previously in our conversations she said that she wanted to host waltz, but we'll see if that has changed, or like, I don't know. So I'll be talking to her about that and see. But thank you for saying that you want to help. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Senator Donimit, do you still have something to add or no? I just see your nameplate up. Thank you. Council Chair Christensen?
I just want to, I guess, add, coming from this working in a similar position to Sayla, and I don't want it to make it seem that I am not supportive of students taking the initiative to change cabinet appointments if that's what's needed or what's expressed. I completely support that. But I also just want to speak to the difficulty of holding the ACE chair position and the fact that it was changed from being managed by 2 people to 1 person. It's not only a lot of like physical or like labor, it's a lot of emotional labor actually to try and balance the requests of and the wants and desires of the entire student body in terms of reflecting all campus events. And I just personally feel like I need to say that I think Sayla did a great job considering the resources that she had, while at the same time acknowledging that there are some things that could have been done better. And I just hope in the future that students will feel comfortable coming to the SJ cabinet to talk about things like this before, or maybe in addition to, I don't know how to say it. Like, there just needs to be a greater confidence, or like I hope that there will be a greater confidence and comfortability, I'm not sure, in coming and talking to cabinet, that's all.
Thank you. Zalma? Can we get a mic?
I want to talk as like a party goer type thing, or like a member of our student body. So I think it'd be really important for SG to also acknowledge like the amount of like money students lost or weren't able to make while things weren't going on, because there were incidents where like events happened but ACES wasn't there. ACES lost out on jobs. So I don't know if there's a way that possibly like students, or basically if there's a way that ACES can get paid for all the work that they were not able to do while everything was happening because of all of this stuff that did not happen.
Can anyone speak to that immediately? Treasurer Agalani.
Yeah, so SGA no longer pays for ACES wages. However, that is a conversation we can certainly have this Friday with Michael Sims during our Deans and Directors meeting. But immediately I have no way of being able to do that, but we can definitely start the conversation on Friday or earlier if anybody's meeting with them before that.
Thank you. AC Welch.
I just want to second everything Cassidy said about the nature of these jobs, the nature of the ACE job, and like its difficulty and like the high potential for people to burn out, especially after one and 3/4 years in the same role. It's like it gets like really difficult. And I don't know, we're gonna like move forward and be better at serving students, and I'm confident we're gonna be able to do a really good job of that. But I don't know, I'm really thankful for the over 1.5 years that Selah served students for, and I don't know, I appreciate her for that.
BPSA Tombu.
Something that I also learned during this process is that as an executive member, it's really important for us to check in with our other cabinet members and making sure that everything's going smoothly / things are getting done. And I think that a big part of that responsibility lies on like the 3 execs, and that's something that I learned that I want to pass down to the next exec elect. So, yeah.
Thank you. President-elect Logan.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for that, and that's something that also just kind of watching, like, we are taking to heart too, is like our responsibility as execs. And I just put my thing up because again, like, I feel frustration on behalf of students because students, they aren't privy to the full picture, you know? And I guess what was frustrating for me as, you know, a student at large right now, kind of, it felt like a reactive and not a proactive approach to student concerns. And that regardless of whether, like, I don't know that we need to be in this situation right now. If when the petition was started, it was jumped on and the answer wasn't, you know, let's see what happens. The answer is, we hear you, this is the steps that we're gonna take, we're ready to defend, you know, the work that goes on, like all of these things that are kind of being expressed, the different facets of the job, I think could have been, or tried to be expressed to students. So that's just where a little bit of my frustration on behalf of the students, you know, has come over the past few weeks. And so I guess I just hope that going forward this year, like, as we're addressing any more concerns that come up, when we hear concerns from students, it's an active approach to, we hear you and this is what we're gonna do, not wait until, you know, we're here.
Senator Jones.
So I think what would be, what would be helpful for me as a senator would be more transparency from cabinet when stuff like this came up. That way we can kind of get out ahead of it. So that like when people come up to me on campus and say like, oh, this is this about the ACE chair, like, what do you know? What's your response as my representative? Like, I can know all the details about what's going on. And it seemed like while the petition was going around campus, there was still like a little talk of it. And so I think it would be great to have more transparency among cabinet. Also, are there other things that like we should do specifically next year so that we don't have this happen again? Like, does ACE chair need to go back to being 2 positions? Like, is that something we should talk about? Like, what are specific things that I can do as a senator to like support CAB, if that's something y'all would like or need, or what's going on?
Councilor Christensen.
I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about whether, or like how the ACE chair position is constructed and like what the responsibilities of the ACE chair are, in addition to like the concerts chair. I don't know if that's a conversation for right now, seeing as we've just appointed our ACE chair elects for next year, or like maybe not for this exact minute, this exact student senate. And I do think that having 2 different people in the position, actually, and having it split by semester will be helpful because, as Dylan said, burnout is a big part of that. And also being a fourth year, I think, on Student Senate can be particularly difficult because, you know, applying or like preparing for after-grad life is essentially like taking another 4-credit class.
Senator Zernig?
I wanted to speak, I guess, in relation to what Regina said and also what Senator Jones said. I guess this is a somewhat rhetorical question because I didn't really have the guts to ask like in the past 4 weeks because nobody was saying anything about it. But why is this the first time that we've talked about the ACE chair issue in Student Senate? I mean, we all knew about it in our capacity as students, and Cabinet, I'm sure, was having conversations to some degree, I hope so, that we weren't hearing about. But again, going off what Senator Jones said, as a senator, I think it would be helpful to me to have more transparency. And when we talk about like the responsibility of senators and using senators to like actually be active, helpful members in SGA rather than just voting kind of aimlessly on little things. Yeah, why is this the first time we've talked about this, and how can we improve the communication and the transparency between Cabinet and senators?
Tucker?
Yeah, this is partially to echo the sentiment by Senator Zernig. Like, this is me speaking as a student event organizer. Like, I wish there had been better support for the ACE chair position from like other people, and like there have been ways to address this issue, because the only real official way of like bringing this up that I was aware of was like the 200-person signature, and I'm like personally frustrated by that because I, like, for instance, run drag show, and I had issues with that, and that alone represents, like, an audience of over 300 students. That's 150% of the needed signatures, but I'm not going to go to, like, everyone who might come to, like, drag show and, like, tell them I'm having difficulties, and this, like, will affect your experience, so, like, I want you to sign this petition. Like, that, to me, does not seem like the best way to go about it, and accumulating that much, like, student input takes a long time, and it's just been, like, weeks and weeks and weeks, and in the meantime, problems continue to circulate, and I kind of wish there had been another way for me as a student who plans events for all campus to like address things more quickly. I think that needs to be set up.
Thank you. Services Coordinator Tibatoma. Get a mic to Joshua.
So I'm just going to be honest. Why we didn't speak about it here is the person in question was in the room, and there's a level of professionalism you want to keep when dealing with. This is not the norm. This circumstance was not the norm. The person is in the room. We cannot speak about the person as if they were not in the room. Perhaps I do hear the call for maybe having avenues. Office hours are a great thing for that as well. But if you do not feel comfortable, we could look into having an official process outside the 2/3 votes where you can just voice complaints about members of the cabinet. But again, it's very odd unless we were going to put an agenda item up there. It's very hard to bring up issues like this without seeming somewhat disingenuous to people who you work with every day. And this is not saying that it isn't something we should do. It's just a very delicate matter that doesn't happen every day in a work circumstance.
Thank you. So we're gonna go Carlos, Errol, Khadijah, Amelia, and then Senator Stoll, or Carrie, just so everyone knows order.
I guess my question is, I have two things. One, like, where is this conversation coming from based on, like, the agenda? Just one question. And two, like, no, I mean, just, like, dead ass. Like, this is just a waste of time, to be completely honest. Like, this conversation can happen next week. That's totally fine. But, like, at this point, I don't know what much can be done in 20 minutes, or, sorry, 27 minutes, because it ends at 9:10. And I just, like, that's one thing. Second, like, Sayla's another person on campus. Like, we can't just come in here and then talk trash and like complain about her if she's in the room. Like, yeah, you might like have hard feelings and there may have been problems, but like, I don't know. Even execs are also just like college students, so it's like a little bit difficult to deal with a small campus and how you talk about somebody when there's problems. So like, yeah, transparency would have been helpful, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I think to some extent, Sayla was in an uncomfortable position like many other people, and she had a lot going on in her life beyond just student senate. And I think they're trying to be respectful of her own personal life. And so yeah, last thing is I'd like to limit the debate or conversation about this for like the next, for another 5 minutes.
We have a motion to limit basically AC Welch's cabinet report to another 5 minutes, seconded by Senator Goldheimer. All those in favor? We're just gonna do it this way. All those opposed? All those abstaining? All right, so that passes. So the limit to the debate has now been 5 minutes. Could we get one of those cool timers on the screen? Or we could also just like look at the clock and stop at 8:50. Yeah, all right, next up, Errol.
Hi, I guess my issue with the whole like, oh, we can't talk about someone is in front of someone's face is that that's an accountability issue, and so no one was attacking Sayla's character, but a job needs to be done, and it was not done. And so now we have a situation where ACE workers couldn't work, there were many complaints with events, so this isn't about attacking Sayla's character, that's not what this is about. This is about getting a job done. Secondly, also, I'm kind of mad at cabinet, just gonna throw that out there, just because Sayla sent out an email to CBS that threatened funding, and that was an abuse of power, and the cabinet should have immediately talked about that, and not in a rude or mean way, but that was very much an issue that was not handled. And so, yeah, there's just an issue with accountability in cabinet right now, and that also makes it harder for students to even talk to cabinet and trust the cabinet to even have an input. And y'all are talking about how students need to be more involved, but y'all are not taking the proper steps to have us involved.
Thank you. We're gonna go to Senator Cerny now.
I just wanted to comment that I think one way to go about this, that it's not about attacking Sayla again, and I think that this reflects on Khadijah's comment about future cabinet and checking in with cabinet members and about cabinet being a cohesive unit, that this should not be about Sayla as a person, and it not necessarily should even be about only the ACE job. I think it was, as a situation, a reflection of the entire cabinet, and so as a senator, I'm frustrated with the entire cabinet, and I think that in dealing with this, the cabinet not talking about it or dealing with it, at least with senators, or having some sort of response from cabinet at all, fueled the response from students being at Sayla as a person. And so I think there was a lot of anger directed towards Sayla as a person, when cabinet should have, as a unit, in my opinion, had some sort of response to make it a question about the job and figure out how to do the job and get the job done in order to transition that anger from Sayla and fix the problem.
VPSA Tombu?
I hear all the points that have been made, and I'm taking it in. Something that I guess like the three execs haven't told you guys is that when the petition was brought / complaints were brought in, like earlier on, we talked to Sayla about it, and we set up meetings with her in order to like fix these issues. / I had multiple meetings with Michael Sims / various different students groups that were having problems with her that came up to me, complaining to me about their problems. But the situation was really, really complicated, and due to its nature of this job in general, And so I think that also added some complexities when dealing with it. And I think also like communication between like us execs and the ACE chair was also complicated. And I think it just went beyond just like us, I guess, telling you guys what's going on. I think maybe we should have made that a little bit more clear, and I think that would have helped a lot, saying like, okay, we're having a check-in with her at this time, and this is what we talked about, and saying that we had a meeting with Michael Sims, and I'm doing this on my part to help out. So yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you. A.T. Weber? Oh, wait, no, sorry. Oh, shit. Oh, sorry. Carrie, my bad.
It's okay, just a quick thing. Just another thing, just to open up, like, I think it's important that you know, if you don't, a senator can put on the agenda the impeachment of anyone at any time. So not only can the student body, like, really talk to their senators about, like, if they really do have issues with someone who's in a certain position, but, like, as a senator who may be privy to what's happening with this particular position and what they're doing, it's also a way for, like, senators have that power. You can put that on the agenda, we can vote on it whenever.
My apologies. A.T. Weber?
Okay, I'm just gonna, just personal privilege right now.
Yeah.
I recognize what Errol said. I think that the email was, that was sent to CBS from former ACE Chair Mystic was highly inappropriate. I would just like to note that the Treasurer's Office immediately responded to that email within 5 minutes, clarifying the situation and apologizing for anything that was said on our behalf without our knowledge. It is important to me that you all know that you can trust the Treasurer's Office as a place to feel comfortable coming to talk to us, and know that we will not be abusing our power in any way. And if you feel that that has happened, we would like for you to address it with us. I had felt that at the time that was clarified with CBS in a way that was satisfactory to all groups involved. If it wasn't, I would invite any groups who feel that they have had their rights as students infringed by the Treasurer's Office in particular to come speak with us personally.
Thank you. So this discussion is now over. We will now be moving on to the other cabinet reports. DOC Gubijala.
I have nothing to add.
All right, any comments or questions? Senator Zerning.
It's a question for you, so I'll just stay here. What's the Say My Name workshop? Can you talk about that for a second?
Yes, the Say My Name workshop. So we attended a workshop where Chinese students helped us with pronunciation of Chinese names. It was super awesome and informative and helpful, and I feel like it's not even their responsibility to take that on, to teach us about that, and we should take it upon ourselves to become educated about it, and so I really, really appreciate them taking the time, and there will be more workshops in the future also, which I would strongly encourage everyone to attend. I learned so much, and they were so kind and just really awesome.
AC Welch.
Yeah, so there's another Say My Name workshop Saturday, April 13th, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. at Drake Library, and would definitely would recommend going if you're free though.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Nope, seeing none, we can now move on to Treasurer Galani.
All right, I don't particularly have anything to add to my report. However, I do have a piece of new business to introduce. We confirmed 3 more people than I thought we were going to when I put together the budget for this semester. So I'm making a motion for this body to increase the cabinet wages by $4,000 in order to accommodate the training wages for those 3 individuals.
So we have a motion to increase money by $4,000, seconded by AC Welch. All those in favor of moving into the voting procedure on this? Just a clarification. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay, the polls are now open. This is a vote to increase the monies going to the training cabinet appointees so that they can be paid adequately and fit into the budget. A in favor, B opposed, C abstaining. You said by $4,000? Increased by $4,000. We are looking for two more. One more. Just one person, please, quick. All right, cool. Thank you. And with 16 in favor and 1 opposed, that passes. So $4,000 will be added to the budget for the job training of the cabinet appointees. Thank you. Treasurer Ercolani.
I have one last thing to add under the point of Budget Planning Committee for 2020 college budget. I strongly encourage all members of the student body to not take office supplies from various departments around campus, with the exception being like the things that are designed to be given out, like pens at the CLS or stuff like that. The college spends $1.2 million every year on office supplies, and apparently a non-insignificant portion of that is to supplement supplies that students take from various departments without returning. So, relaying something that has been brought forth to our attention in the Treasurer's office, please, especially in the libraries apparently, stop taking office supplies.
Senator Doddymead.
What are people taking, like, for example, that could amass to 1.2 million, are they, because people can't take, like, books, so are they taking, like, computers, or, like, how do you rack up 1.2 million?
Treasurer Ercolani.
So 1.2 million is the entire office supplies budget for Grinnell College, and but a portion of why that is so large is because students, and I think the examples that were brought up in the libraries specifically were people taking staplers, which are, and staplers and paper products, which are things that students don't normally buy for themselves because they're expensive, and why on earth should we have to buy them, but, and then just not returning them to the designated location and them just being lost. I think there was a joke made about when FM cleaning up was going to be cleaning out the dorms about just finding pens and staplers in dorm floors. But yeah.
Senator Stallings.
Yeah, just for some additional context. The first semester, my first year I worked at Burling, and the first semester that I worked there, we had to, that giant hole punch? We replaced that 6 times. That thing is $45. So, it happens.
Thank you. Councilor Christensen.
I understand that it's pretty funny, and I don't say this to discourage people from using supplies that I think we should all have access to, but I think it should be, it would be constructive of us to take this as a way of continuing to exemplify self-governance on campus.
Thank you. Treasurer Ercolani.
Yeah, just to build off of that point, by taking these supplies, it takes time for them to be replaced, and you're depriving other people of the opportunity to use them in the interim, in which it costs money and it costs people time and ability to do things.
Senator Pedro Santa.
I had a quick question about the budget that we just approved, and we approved it, so it's kind of just like a clarifying question. But is the $4,000 are the people, are the 3 other positions getting paid 20 hours a week to do their training, or is it less amount of hours?
So the $4,000 was 20 hours a week for the remainder of the semester for all positions, all people that are in appointed positions. So that is all split positions and all single appointee positions.
Thank you.
To clarify, not everyone is able to use 20 hours. Like, I have a 20-hour-a-week job right now. Oscar Buchanan has a 16-hour-a-week job right now. Eric is abroad. But in order to make our budgeting practice as good as possible, we want to allocate for every single individual who potentially could be drawing on those funds somehow.
All right, seeing that there are no further anythings, we can move on to A.T. Weber's cabinet report.
Yeah, I mean, this is short, but I also don't really have anything to add. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was not doing a lot of work over break. So, but yeah, we talked a little bit about Oscar's training. So, I don't know, if you guys have questions about our vision for the treasurer's office for next year, we can chat about it. That's about it.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we can now move on to VP Murphy.
So this is my thing from 3 weeks ago that we never got to talk about. But so the GERG is actually accepting things until Wednesday, April 3rd at 11:59 p.m. If you could please tell your constituents to submit things to the Grinnell Undergraduate Research Journal, I would really appreciate it. Other than that, I guess my next week's report will be probably a bunch of stuff from spring break too. I could also send it out to you guys now if anybody would like it. Just let me know.
Thank you. Senator Goldhaber. Microphone. Thank you.
I don't know if you can talk directly to this, but the last point, I'm assuming that has to do with the social security numbers being released too, and I've had a lot of constituents very concerned about that, so if you could speak to that, that'd be great.
So unfortunately, I don't know any more about it. It's just I work with admissions a lot in my job, especially right now as it's hot, with admissions. But they have, nobody is really getting back to me about any of this stuff or really anything at all in admissions. I imagine, they have a thing online where they sent out emails to anyone affected where it's they're trying to give out information. From what I've seen, super limited. We'll be talking about it during our Deans and Directors meeting on Friday and hopefully getting significantly more information or at least getting some form of guarantee of more information.
Thank you. President-elect Logan.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Cab if next FaceTime you have with admin, I know you will bring it up, but it really does feel also like a diversity issue, an equity issue, because it's if students who do not have a lot of financial literacy are put in this situation, it's very stressful, and it would have been great if the CFO could have even done a 30-minute community hour on what happens when your social security gets lost, what should you worry about, what should you not worry about, here are your next steps, just something that maybe for students, a workshop or something.
Thank you. All right. Nothing else? Cool. President Becker? Nothing to add? Do we have any questions? Senator Goldhaber?
Did you finish the document outlining the SGA cabinet composition for the last 15 or 16 or so? And if you did, could we see it? Because it just sounds really interesting.
I will send it to you.
Thank you. Do we have anything else? Senator Jones?
Could you send it to everyone? Maybe that's what you meant, I just want to make sure. Also, I see we got a Google Drive going on. Can you let senators into the Google Drive so we can see some of that stuff?
It's mainly internal cabinet stuff. We can make one for senators because there's some things that are there are things like best practices documents for certain positions that are intended to be shared only exclusively. The AC is the only person who has unfettered access to this. I think like I'm intending to use it as a mechanism for institutional memory, and then with like access being granted on a by need basis, we can make. Yeah, that's something I can take into consideration, and I can talk with you about that. That's something we could look into.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Zernig?
I see the ongoing work with Quinn on the Constitution, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to mention the last time I read the Constitution, the last document that I downloaded off of the website, Campus Council had been changed to Student Senate in all places, but presiding officer is still presiding officer, and I believe that Lana serves as the president of the Senate. So, sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case that wasn't in there. Thank you.
Cool. No, thank you. We can make that change. We do.
Senator Everly?
Chief of Staff sounds way better than Administrative Coordinator. No offense to Dylan.
Right? I like that so much better because I think here I'll give you a little spiel. A, I think it just sounds better, but B, I think like as I'm thinking about logistical organization and hierarchical standing within SGA, we don't really have a point person for staff members that are employed by Student Government Association, like Freesound or SHIC. There's no real reporting mechanism for the way in which they do things. We have no real oversight over those administrations, and like we pay lots of money to these people and to these organizations. And so I think it's important that we have oversight into the ways in which they conduct their operations, what their operations consist of, how internal hiring processes are conducted. And so I think like having a point person and the chief of staff who then works with them, and this is akin to the same way that the AC works with the senators, would be an extension of that. I think would be like an important oversight mechanism for student government.
Senator Donnie.
I was curious what you were thinking about when you were splitting DOC into two positions. Like, I'm guessing that couldn't be implemented for next year, but would that be for the year after? What you were thinking, because I have spoken before about that.
Yeah, so again, I'm trying to just get a lot of my thoughts down on paper and kind of like put in pipelines for SGA for next year, kind of consider whether or not they want to go forward with them. Splitting of DC into OC is one, or DC and OC is something I'm considering. I think like having worked with like now 4 iterations of the DOC, I think it's really those are while they are connected, they are also separate mechanisms by which SGA works. And so I think having to split your time between those two things as opposed to being able to dive fully into one or either of them, I think is like would be important. I think like having a full-time diversity officer would be wonderful in terms of the hiring processes for cabinet, for non-cabinet paid staff, just as a general voice there. I think outreach is like an essential component of this position as well, given that like student involvement in SGA has been kind of dwindling in recent years, and so I think like making it a more engaging space, making students aware of what they can and cannot do through SGA, making students aware of ways they can get involved, I think that's like a full 20-hour position right there. And so, and I think having them invited to, like, I think we had a lengthy discussion in a Deans and Directors meeting before break about student not misunderstanding, but incorrect messaging regarding the reporting process for Title IX and for Clery and how that works and like what a report can do to benefit future students and stuff like that. And so I think like having an outreach person who's willing to work with administration as well as students to kind of get words out there of opportunities and resources available on campus, I think would be wonderful. And so like, I'm just trying to figure out a way in which the duties can be split and enough duties can be added such that it is a valid 20-hour position, but like, those are kind of my thoughts on it. We'll see where that goes, but that'll probably be something we'll put forward for next year to consider.
Thank you. Just a heads up, we have 3 minutes left. So, Miles, if you don't have anything left to add, all right, thank you. VPSA Tombo?
So over these past 2 weeks, I had like meetings with Diana talking about working on one of the projects I have for this year. That's going a little bit slower than I would like. Trying to get laptop rentals for low-income students, and actually we're thinking about just expanding it to students in general. but it's going a little bit slower because Dave Robinson's a busy man. He's the head of ITS, and finding funding is very difficult. Some other things I worked on was some block party things. I'm on the committee, working with the co-leaders. We're trying to make it a fun, exciting event. I was trying to push some Res Life initiatives, like for example, getting the laundry and Yonker fixed. It's still just not working. Yeah, I've been meeting with them with that. Also talking with Chief Riley about meeting with future student groups in the next few weeks before school ends. And ISO is on our list. I'm gonna contact the president because we need to set a date, but we said for after spring break, and so now's the time.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Senator Stallings. Also, we have a minute left.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I'm really interested in talking about low-income students and laptops. Technological disadvantages on campuses for low-income students is a real thing. And I was wondering if you had thought about, some colleges have where they actually put in the cost of a laptop into their cost of attendance. So that way low-income students who get like 100% demonstrated financial need, for example, also get the cost of a laptop, like put into their account basically. So that may just be something to consider.
Thank you.
Some avenues we've considered was vendors, looking at vendors, because the school has partnerships with a couple of vendors and they get discounts, so that's something that we're looking at. Also, I think Dave put in a budget request for to buy laptops, and so that's something that we're thinking about. We're trying to like work out the quirks there, but it's logistically moving slowly, unfortunately, but this is something I'm gonna pull Stockton into.
All right, so it is now 9:10. It's 9:10, so thank you. We are going to close. If you have any questions, please just address the people directly, seeing that we passed this vote to end directly at 9:10. So yeah, we're done. Thank you all for your time and for your engagement. You all rocked it tonight. See you back again next week at 7:10.